All right, welcome to the Awakened Living Podcast, Episode 4. I'm really excited for this one because it's not necessarily about like a specific topic, but it's more of a milestone and talking about that. So I'm launching my new website tomorrow, orgonomy.us, which is like the official Orgonite hub. There's no better company out there that produces high quality engineered actual Orgonite pyramids that are real and work, that are actually based off of the ancient pyramids and the engineering that went into those. We're also going to talk a lot about EMF protection and really have a full spectrum of perspectives and information that I'm going to go over today, just to give you a good grounded approach when it comes to EMF protection and what you may or may not need. So yeah, thanks for listening, and let's dive right into it. So EMFs have kind of become this cliche topic. There's so many scams out there now, and originally I think that it was a lesser known thing where people really did their research and it was more of a realistic approach to it. But nowadays there's a lot of greenwashing products and a lot of just fake marketing that confuses the real information about EMFs and ultimately has people ending up with misinformation they're believing as facts, or they're just overall confused or don't understand how EMFs actually work. So I want to break that down and explain from a very practical approach that anybody can understand. Whatever kind of lifestyle you live or whatever your life is like, it doesn't really matter. We all live on an earth with electromagnetic fields going everywhere. Some of these are natural, some are unnatural, and this is pretty widely accepted thing. Every electronic emits a magnetic field, has EMFs. Electromagnetic fields is what EMF stands for, and that's basically explaining what all of these magnetic fields are. So that's the label for that, and you can divide them into two stages. One of them is called native EMF. So this is things like the Schumann resonance, which is 7.83 hertz, I believe, all the way to 15 hertz. It's a range. If you watch some of these solar websites, you can see the in present time Schumann resonance frequency, and a lot of times nowadays it's way higher than normal. And also keep in mind that the unnatural EMFs actually weaken the Earth's Schumann resonance. So the Earth's Schumann resonance in most places, such as urban cities and more developed places, is virtually non-existent. So it's a really complicated subject. So if you're living in a city, you're definitely going to need more EMF protection than if you're living in the country, because the magnetic fields of nature are just completely different. When you compare a city versus nature, where you have more natural magnetic fields from lots of trees and grass and mountains and rivers, all of those also contain energetic fields as well that are measurable. And I just moved back to pretty deep nature after living in the city for a year. I moved from Kauai, me and my family, to Phoenix, Arizona, and now we're up in Sedona, Arizona. We never really meant to go to Phoenix. It just kind of happened that way, unplanned. But it's all good, and now we're where we want to be, and we'll probably go back to Kauai in a few years, or I'm not sure when, but that place will always be home. And just living in nature is just such a different energy, if you will. I mean, you can really tap into a much more efficient circadian rhythm when you're living out in nature. You naturally get more tired when the sun goes down, and you naturally get up when the sun rises, versus when you're in a city, there's all kinds of different lights 24 hours a day. Your body never fully relaxes, and then you have night lights in the house. It's not fully dark. And even those are types of EMFs, lesser known, of course, but lighting also emits EMFs. When you have improper, unhealthy, low quality light bulbs, they do what's called flickering, just like a strobe light. You've seen it before at a haunted house or something. They have a strobe light where it flickers, and that basically is a form of EMF. So that can stress out your adrenals and your nervous system overall, and can over time increase your cortisol and things like that, and just throw you into a state of chronic dysregulation when you're in unnatural lighting all the time. So that's really important. So not only things like cell towers and living in cities with all of the electronics emit EMFs, but also lighting. So ultimately you want to protect yourself on all angles, and we're going to talk about the best solutions, and We're going to go over a couple more things, and then we're going to dive into solutions. And because I love talking about problems and things like that, but what I love even more is giving really solid solutions so people can live a much higher quality life. And that's basically like the whole point of this podcast, right? The Awakened Living podcast. So back to what I mentioned before is there's two types of EMFs. They can all be divided into one or the other. One is called native electromagnetic frequencies, native EMF, and then there's non-native electromagnetic oh my gosh, electromagnetic frequency. Try to say that 10 times. I'm also very tired because I'm a new dad and our baby just turned 1, and I've been working really hard on these new sites, and I'm working on a new version of Orgonomy too, which I'm making a lot of progress. The sites are pretty much all done. My personal brand site, which is sherangad.com, and now I'm launching Orgonomy tomorrow, July 8th. I'm recording this July 7th right now, and that website is completely done too. And if you're listening to it, it'll be launched and ready to go. That's the official, Orgonite website. There's really nothing like it out there, and it's only going to continue to get better. This is like 15,000 hours of research into this. There's a lot of stuff that goes behind it, and I've fully branded out my foundation, my company, to have different pyramid models that are meant to help you with different things. Like the Red Sun pyramid model is for emotional health and emotional stability, really helps ground your mental state. That's a really awesome one. A lot of people actually like those better than the other models, ironically. And then you have the classic Black Sun Orgonite, which has kind of been created by multiple people over the years, but now no one's ever released like an official thing. So I really developed it and put a lot of like engineering into it, and I have like a specific like formula of what I use for the pyramids, which is like, backed by the US military with the same things that they use, plus all of my own, alchemical studies and what I know personally on top of that. So, and Wilhelm Reich's work, Tesla, Walter Russell, Victor Schauberger, and quite a few other scientists and people from across history, and obviously just studying the Great Pyramid. So there's really no other place, with the amount of research and information and quality anywhere. So I'm just really excited to share this because this is really going to be like a whole new level of, authentic, energy work and energy devices that are going to be, coming out now that this website is about to be launched. And this is like years in the making. So have my pyramid workshop like all ready to like process orders, and have a really nice workshop now, and I'm really excited about that. I'm all settled in Sedona, and so I'm super excited to be building pyramids and just shipping them all over the world. I want to have pyramids in every country, pretty much every city, and also at sacred sites and different nature sites that emit different energies, such as ley lines or nature spots that are high in what's called geopathic stress, which is a natural form of EMF that's harmful. There is a couple of those. They're not all healthy when it comes to natural frequencies, but the majority are, obviously. But nature has contrast. So geopathic stress is basically a natural form of radiation, and you generally don't want to live in a high area of geopathic stress unless you have like a lot of EMF protection. You have pyramids, you have other things too that you can stack on top and work together with the pyramids. But that's another EMF to watch out for, is geopathic stress. And then obviously you have your Wi-Fi routers, your cell phones, your 5G, all of that stuff. And actually, have experimented with different EMF phone cases over the years, and I've tried probably like 5 or 6 at this point. And I really love one called Safesleeve, and I'll mention this in the description, but you can use my code SHER, SHER, to get, I believe, 10 or 15% off their phone cases. They have phone cases for pretty much any Samsung and iPhone model. It really does work. I've tested it. I have EMF meters, and I generally don't feel, my hand being fried whenever I use that case, and feel much more comfortable, talking on the phone, and it's just really convenient, and it holds, a couple like debit cards or some cash or whatever you want to put in there. And I also use a blue light screen protector from iJust, which basically diffuses the blue light at the correct nanometers, so it actually blocks it, because a lot of the blue light blocking, quote unquote, like technology is BS. And our phones, just like bad light bulbs also emit EMF. So it's not just the magnetic field from the phone itself, but also the lighting on the phone that emits EMFs. So overall, when it comes to my phone, which I use in my hand often, obviously, I make a lot of content. I'm on my phone probably too much, but I do what's needed to counter it, so it's all good. So I would go with the iJust blue light screen protector. I don't have a code or anything for that one. I'm going to have to reach out to them to get you guys a code, all you guys who are listening. But you can use my code Sher, SHER, for the Safesleeve phone case. Those are the two things that I would recommend for phones to protect from EMFs from, all angles. It's a really good approach overall. And then you can use the built-in, like night mode and red light filter on the phone if you want. I personally like orange light better than red, but it just depends on your preference. Red light a lot of times strains my eyes too much. I did red light at night for like 7 years, almost every night, and I think that there's a balance to it, and I think that it's important to just get the no flicker lights, just really high quality, as natural as possible bulbs. It doesn't have to always be like perfect red light at night, or always blocking the blue light and always having red light. There's a balance to it. I think blue light is healthy for you in the middle of the day. That's when the sun is highest and produces the most natural blue light. And then as the sun goes down, so does the tolerance and level of blue light. Well, it should around you, but if you live in a city and if you're always on phones and things at night, it can affect your circadian rhythm. But that's what I'd recommend for the phone. iJust blue light blocking screen protector, and then the Safesleeve EMF protecting phone case. And that's like the most basic way to protect from the phone. I wouldn't really worry much else about that when it comes to the phone. But overall, what's more important to me is like EMF protection for the whole home, right? So the phone is just one aspect. And I would get that, off your plate. That's maybe like $100 investment, probably a little bit less for really, watching out for your health. You're seeing like 97-98% reduction of the EMFs on your phone when you use it. So it'll definitely help. If you get headaches from being on your phone, you probably won't get them anymore if you do that. I definitely always get my hands feeling fried when I hold my bare phone. And whenever I use the Safesleeve and, my strategy and approach to this, my hands never are bothered. I sleep really well for the most part. And yeah, it doesn't really seem to bother me. And I think proper supplementation is important too, and we'll get to that. But next, let's talk about EMF protection in your home, in your workplace, traveling. These are really important, and I would say even more important because this is where you are, where your physical body, your avatar is the most. And you want to be protected the most, where you are, where you're being, where you're living the most often. And ultimately what EMFs do, the harmful ones that is create a stress response in your nervous system. It basically, can cause calcification. Over time, it can deplete you of, vitamins and minerals such as vitamin C and magnesium, and also cause high calcium because, the vibration of these magnetic fields actually, alters the minerals in your body, which is pretty interesting, It just proves that, like, our body holds energy and is affected by energies around it that we can't see. And this is constantly happening, on a conscious but also subconscious level. And so let's say I move into a new home, just a bare naked home, my approach to protecting with EMFs could go a couple different ways. First, I want to get something that can cover the whole home. My preference is obviously my work. I'm a little bit biased, but it's really effective, and I have so many customer testimonials and, public feedback, like positive feedback, showing that it does really work. So what I would recommend is getting a medium-sized Giza 8-sided black sun pyramid if you live in a highly radiated environment, or really even if you're out in nature. I use them out in rural areas, so I think they're very valuable, even beyond EMFs, because these pyramids that we're making here at Orgonomy is not just EMF protection. This is like about consciousness. Like these pyramids are also engineered to help you develop like consciousness. So just as in ancient Egypt they used pyramids for consciousness research and journeying, these are also built with the exact same properties. So I thought that's really important to explain as well, and I'm going to expand on that. So to start, I would get, a black sun pyramid. Any of the black sun models work really well. They're available on the new site. that's going to be your go-to for EMF protection. And why that is because you're basically looking at, an engineered pyramid with the perfect ratios that actually absorb EMF, not just some BS orgonite you're going to find in a crystal shop or maybe on Alibaba, or, that comes from India or China or on Amazon, or, at your local like spiritual shop, or even somebody on Instagram or TikTok. Most of the pyramids out there are super fake, and, I base my sciences and things that I do off of like real legitimate information. I can easily show all the things that aren't in alignment with the ancient pyramids, and, just pyramid engineering in general when it comes to all of the modern day orgonite or supposed orgonite out there. It's really not doing anything for you, and most of it actually emits radiation, so you definitely don't want that. In the military, there's something called radiation absorbent material, and they actually coat certain planes and high altitude flying aircraft with, which is basically orgonite, and it's called radiation absorbent material. So it's basically quartz and iron sand mixed with a equal 1-to-1 weight and ratio. So you're using the same amount of them. Oh, there's some background noise right there. But that's really going to be your go-to, is anything with the true radiation absorbent material. So what that is the 1-to-1 iron and quartz powder. And obviously you need a, something to mix it in that squeezes it together, such as like resin. So what they do is basically they use epoxy and they make pyramids with this just 1-to-1, 2-ingredient, simple pyramid, and they've proven that actually absorbs radiation. And you can actually look this up. Look up radiation absorbent material, U.S. military, go through all the Google pages, read a bunch of the articles and studies and information, and you'll actually find out that the most efficient shape in protecting from EMFs with, the radiation absorbent material mixed with the resin, aka, orgonite, is actually a pyramid. So I think that's really interesting that they did that. And the angles and biogeometry are also considered. So they're actually testing out different angles of the pyramids and all of that. And this is basically all of the same stuff and more that I'm doing with my foundation at Orgonomy. The U.S. military just uses it for research purposes and protecting from, nuclear radiation. They actually have all of these pyramids in these big rooms with these very radioactive, storage units, whatever they're storing that may be super radioactive, like uranium or things that are way beyond that. And they actually protect from the radiation with orgonite pyramids. So I think that is so crazy and so interesting. So a lot of what I do is really based off of that as well. Everything I make, every type of pyramid model, always has a base of the 1-to-1 iron and quartz, but I use about at least 20 other ingredients along with that. They're also in different ratios that are like the same ratios every time. So, I've kind of trialed and errored for about 6-7 years now, building orgonite pyramids with the angles, the materials, the shapes, basically everything you can think of. And this is basically the final product of what I've developed. And there's multiple pyramid models. I'm going to be coming out with more as well. Right now the new site only has 2 pyramid models. There's the red sun pyramid, and then there's the black sun. And then I have like 6 or 7 different pyramid shapes for each one. So not only does the different pyramid model have different effects, but also the shape, right? So like, for example, people who have really studied pyramids usually will say that a Giza-shaped pyramid, for example, has a balance of masculine and feminine energy, whereas the Nubian pyramid usually focuses on your higher chakras and the organs in the higher part, the upper half of your body, because, pyramids can actually affect your organs and your, the chemistry of your organs and what's going on and the communication between your organs and just all the systems in your body. It's quite interesting. And Nubian pyramids will focus more on your thyroid, which is also called like your throat chakra. Every chakra, it's not like a woo-woo thing. Every chakra just correlates to your physical organs, right? So your root chakra, it's like your sexual organs. Your solar plexus is your belly, your thyroid is your, parathyroid, and thyroid gland right in your throat there, and the other glands and organs as well in that region of your throat. So Nubian pyramids are great for your throat, overall, your throat chakra. They affect your thyroid, and if you have thyroid issues, combined with proper nutrition and other approaches, I think it can actually be really effective having, really strong Nubian pyramids in your home, near yourself all the time, which can actually, boost your metabolism and help your, thyroid conversions, which I believe are called like TSH levels. Correct me if I'm wrong, in the, you can feel free to message me, but I think that's what it's called. And it actually can really improve thyroid health. So if you're somebody who, has a need like that, Nubian pyramids, I would go for one of those. Obviously, there's the red sun model or the black sun model. And the difference between those is just a couple things. The black sun are generally more for radiation, but they're both, have pretty much all the same effects. They're just different types of iron. So the red sun model is hematite, red iron oxide, and quartz, a 1-to-1 ratio of those, plus all of the other ingredients. And then the black sun model is magnetite, a different form of iron called black iron oxide, all natural, of course. Got to always, use materials from the earth, ethically sourced, obviously. And that is mixed with quartz. So you have the black iron oxide in quartz, which is magnetite. That's black iron oxide. And then you have the red sun model, which is hematite, red iron oxide. And you can look up the properties of hematite and also the properties of magnetite, and that'll basically give you the differences between the two pyramid models to see what's best for you. And then there's also different size Nubian models. Right now I only offer 2 sizes. I have the ones that are like 500, which is like the normal size that do well in most homes, and then I have a huge size. I'm working on making a custom one that's in between the small and huge size, because the huge size is much more than 500. It's about like 8,500 at the base model, but it's also like 70 pounds and like huge. So it just really depends on what you're looking for. Those are more for like people who want to go all out, or retreat centers or stores, galleries, things like that. Speaking of gallery, there's actually a beautiful gallery of all of my pyramids from over the years, from when I first was going to launch this website in 2018 on my website, like a timeline of when I started all the way to now. And so I think that's pretty powerful. There's a lot of really beautiful pyramids on there, and on that same page you can actually submit a custom pyramid request. I can make custom pyramids of any color, pattern, design you want, or crystals too. I think that whatever crystals you add to Orgonite, amplifies the effects of those. And I'm using, like, depending on the pyramid and what I'm going for, like 10 to 30 different crystal powders that I make, by hand, crushing them, with a machine by hand. I can't ever get it perfect sand just by hand with a hammer. You have to use more efficient equipment. But I mean, if you're just starting, doing Orgonite, that's a great way to do it. But you really want all powdered materials, like, perfectly crushed into like perfect sands, and you mix all of that as dense and as heavy, keyword as heavy, like super heavy as possible, within the pyramid. Just like the ancient pyramids, that's how they did it. So all the materials are as compressed as possible, the most per square inch you could possibly fit of sands of different materials. And it's also super heavy as possible. So that's the gist of, why I'm doing that, because we're basically following the same principles, or one of the principles of ancient pyramid engineering. And all of the medium-sized models will protect pretty much your whole home. I'd recommend, 1 to 2 for the average size home, which is probably like 2 bedrooms. Or you could get, a small size and a medium size. I also offer the smaller sizes. But yeah, you'll see all the pyramid models on the new site. It's called True Orgone Technology. That's the trademark. So that we'll be setting up. And I'm really excited to launch this, you guys. I mean, this is like 6 years in the making. This is like my life purpose on a lot of levels. This is really great stuff. And, this is going to affect the world one day. And I can't wait to, turn back and listen to this podcast a couple years from now, and just to see how far, I go and how far I can come. And so I'm, holding that energy now, and that's really the law of attraction there, is being in the energy of your, desired intention before you see any evidence of it in your life, So for me, I want to grow the pyramids that we build. I'm developing a team, as I scale the business and grow, that works with me. And as we, scale and I scale the business, the goal is to basically grid the whole earth in pyramids, not in a way where it overpowers anything, but where it works with the native energies and improves the, the quality of life of all, biological life, like worldwide. And this is what the ancient world basically had, like a worldwide grid of energy before it was destroyed by basically like the parasites, I think is the right word, that, kind of regulate, I'm not going to say rule, but regulate and technically rule in some ways over this realm. So we're basically restoring the ancient grid of enlightened humanity. That's essentially the sacred intention of this, and I've already distributed between me and my students probably somewhere ballpark around 20,000 pyramids, something like that. And that's being like relatively generous. It could actually be more than that, but I try to be really like realistic. It's somewhere around there. And my goal is more like 200,000, 500,000, up in those numbers, maybe even a little bit more. Like I'm actually, calculating different like square footage and mileage of all the pyramid ranges and like the strength of X amount of pyramids affecting the world and like how many exactly would be needed kind of thing. So it's not that I would stop building them when I reach that goal, but more like it'll evolve into something else. I don't quite know what that is yet, but that's the mission right now. And yeah, there'll always be a use for these types of energy tools regardless, but at the very base level, I want to grid a certain amount around the world that really can hone in a higher vibrational frequency across the whole world. I think I've put a really good dent in it so far. I mean, I swear, like I've really seen a difference happen in the areas where I've put a lot of Orgonite with people and just the overall collective energy. People are awakening, people are using different tools worldwide to help with their awakening. And I really believe like authentic, like the real deal Orgonite pyramids are one of the best tools to really help you develop, like a higher consciousness. Like there really is something to the pyramids. And I didn't really understand it years ago when I first got into this until I bought one. And it wasn't even fully built the right way, but it was probably like at least halfway built the right way, enough to have effects short term that are decent. And I was just like, there's really something to this. I had a bunch of interesting experiences happen, which you guys can listen to like the whole story on my last podcast episode, which is just all about, Orgonomy and Orgonite pyramids. And yeah, go ahead and listen to that one if you want to dive deeper into, more of a background and things. On top of having those pyramids in your home, I would consider other things like, and these are very unconventional things, like having a lot of like wool rugs and different things that absorb EMF safely, that don't, amplify them, such as like wool. I usually only have wool rugs in the house, natural rugs. Obviously they cost a lot more, but they're just much better quality. They really help bring a grounding energy into the place. Also having a lot of like leather furniture, that's really great for helping clean up any excess EMFs. Let's see here. Other units such as the Blue Shield home unit can be helpful as well. I really love Soma Vedic. That would be my second choice beyond pyramids, is Soma Vedic. I actually have a code for them too, and they're on my website, sherangad.com. It says Sher, my code. I think it's 10 or 15% off, just like the other one for the phone case. And that can get you guys some money off of it. But that works great with Orgonite. They actually sell a glass pyramid that they make that goes along with their device. It's basically like a natural glass, like crystal glass blown sacred geometric shape pulsed with frequency. So it's like a PEMF. It's very similar to Orgonite, very similar, not quite the same, but very similar. Same concept of orgone energy and producing a, pulsed electromagnetic field. And that works amazing with the pyramids. That's my favorite combination just overall for, EMFs. And then you can use, organic clothing, linen clothing, and the highest like vibrational frequency clothing, which is linen, wool, and organic cotton. Don't mix wool and linen because they throw each other off, the megahertz, the frequencies of those. But linen is like the highest vibing clothing you can wear. And silver clothing is really popular nowadays to protect from EMFs, but I've never really resonated with that because silver bounces frequencies around. So unless you're using some kind of like Faraday cage, I really don't know if it's like effective. And I personally just like I just like the approach that I use. I never really felt much of a difference from the silver clothing, and I'm just not a big fan, and I'm not technically sold on it. I'm not fully against it, but I'm not necessarily for it because I don't feel like it's a necessary thing that really works. Like, yes, you can put an EMF meter up to it and it blocks the EMFs, right? But that doesn't show you all the magnetic fields that are bouncing off the silver going everywhere. Like, it's easy to show it blocking EMFs, but that's not fully the point of like what you want. It's so much more multifaceted than just blocking it. Because sure, it's blocking it, but it's also bouncing it everywhere. Where does the radiation go? Energy only gets transferred. So it's really important to understand, beyond just blocking EMFs, because just blocking it isn't always the solution. And orgonite pyramids, orgonomy pyramids, they're actually filtering the EMF, so they're not necessarily blocking it. They're actually absorbing the local EMF, however much that is. And of course, the strength of the pyramid will vary depending on your needs of where you live. Obviously, I would get a bigger, heavier pyramid if you're in a city and one of the larger models. But if you're out in the rural area, the medium models or a couple small ones really help too. And so they really filter EMF. So basically they absorb the local EMF and they transmute it through the materials, because what's happening is the resin is constantly squeezing on all of the compressed materials in perfect ratios. So it's actually pulling local energies into the pyramid, quite literally, and it pulls it up through the quartz that's being charged, basically, because when you squeeze quartz, it produces electricity, which is called piezo, or some people call piezoelectricity. Basically, quartz becomes electric when you apply pressure to it. So when you put this into, the engineering principles of pyramids, you can actually squeeze all of that EMF into the pyramid and send it through the quartz crystal on top, and it actually will emanate what's called positive orgone energy, which is basically like clean air. An air filter takes the dirty air and makes clean air. A real orgonite pyramid takes the bad EMF and makes it good EMF. So that's essentially what's happening. It's taking away the harmful effects of it. And most people feel a complete difference. Their nervous system is more relaxed throughout the day. They get better sleep. They don't have so much anxiety or neuroticism. They're not super on edge. They feel just in general more relaxed. And that's what I would do for, just basic EMF protection in the home. And then you can also make sure you're using, circadian friendly light bulbs and the right type of lighting, throughout the day and night. I'm going to do a whole other podcast about lighting to really clear that up, because a lot of people have asked me questions over the years, and I feel like I have a really great strategy that I really want, to share with people. I really, hope and pray my podcast really grows, because I think the information shared here can really help so many people, and that's partially why I'm here. And I haven't had too much of a reach the past few years, getting super shadow banned and stuff, so I have a good feeling about it. So we'll see what happens. I'm just going to keep showing up with no expectations and just with pure intention for the message to get out there. So yeah, that's coming from my heart. That's always where I want to come from integrity and good character. That's really what I believe in. That's how I like to run my business too. That's how I like to just be with other people in general. I believe in good values and respect and all those sorts of things. That's my general strategy for EMF protection. I don't really feel like anything more is necessary. It's definitely possible to do overkill when it comes to EMF protection and all these energy devices out there. So you really want to hit the sweet spot. I think too much of pretty much anything, maybe not everything, can be, taxing. So it's good to have balance. So, and this is also something I study called feng shui. I guess that's the Western way to say it. I don't speak Mandarin or Japanese or Chinese very well to say how they say it over there. But that's basically the study of, fluent energy and making sure that all the energies in your home are balanced. So I think that if you do overkill with all these EMF devices, the feng shui in your home gets thrown off. The energy's thrown off, it could be draining you. Even if you have too many crystals in your home, there's been times where I have literally thousands of crystals in my house and it's just too much. It's just not... Almost it just feels unnatural. I'm just less is more. So now I've downed a lot of my crystal collection and used a lot of what I had in really nice pyramids I've sold. So now I just have my simple, synergy stones, which you guys can look up, which are some of the most powerful ascension stones to help raise your consciousness. The 12 ascension stones, you can look those up. I also collect real Andara crystals and tektites. So I have a really cool, and a lot of different types of quartz and gems. So I have a lot of cool stuff, but I had to get rid of so much of it because it was just too much. And There's been times where I just had way too many pyramids as well, like have like 50 pyramids in my house and like just too much, you know. I think just like a couple, depending on the house, you know, if you have a 2 bedroom, you know, you don't need more than like 5-10 pyramids max. I mean, if you really want to, you're really like pushing it. If you have like 10 pyramids in a small house, you're going to like really shift fast. You know, it's going to be powerful and maybe a little intense too. You know, it could become imbalanced if you're in a really small space and all the pyramids are right there, but it really just depends on what you're going for. And I think that when you place the pyramids in your home, if you align them to, you know, the cardinal directions, each side of the pyramid, or each edge, I mean, that can actually really help balance the energy as well. But yeah, usually just like a pyramid in each room is what I go for. That seems to be like the sweet spot for me. Other people like more. That's just what works for me. I have other people and friends that have tons of pyramids and they feel awesome and there's really no issues. But for me, I feel like as the builder and creator of it, I just like have a cap of it. I'm just like, yeah, this is the amount of this energy that I need, right? But I feel like everybody's different. Everyone has their own like biological field and needs, you know. If you're someone who has like a high stress life, more orgonite will probably be good for you. You know, it can actually, you know, really help support you and act as almost like an adaptogen, like kind of like medicinal mushrooms like chaga, lion's mane, and things like that. So that would be my basic approach for all EMFs. And, you know, feel free to send me a message on Instagram or email support@orgonomy.us. That's the new support email for the website. And any questions you have will help you find, you know, right now it's just me, by the way, but I'm looking for investors and scaling the business slowly. Not slowly, but gradually. Actually, I'm really ready to just like pedal to the metal, so it doesn't have to happen slow. Sometimes success can happen really fast, so I'm really just open to whatever happens. And right now it's just me. I'm doing everything from order fulfillment to building the pyramids, marketing, editing, videos, literally everything. It's all me. But my partner, Jenny, she definitely helps a lot with videos and things. And yeah, she's a great support. I'd love to dive into the Q&A now. I want to just talk about a couple things and then we'll wrap up here and talk a little bit more about the site. I'm really excited to get into this part of the podcast. And yeah, so that's basically, you know, the gist of EMFs. Again, there's natural and unnatural. There's different types, you know, and you want to know what protects from what and how to do it, how to protect yourself the most efficiently, you know, in your home and whatever type of living situation you have. So in general, you know, a couple medium-sized pyramids are going to do really well anywhere. Doesn't really matter. But if you're someone who has a really like bigger home or you're like really want to get it like perfect and make sure you have like the best energy in your house, you can always just DM me on Instagram at Sher.Angad, and I'm happy to help you. I get a lot of DMs, so thank you for your patience if it takes me a few days to answer. So first question is, what is orgonomy? Orgonomy is simply the study of orgone energy. So I'm not sure if it was Wilhelm Reich or someone after or before him who coined the term orgonomy, but the study of orgone energy is called orgonomy. It's a word, and that's basically, you know, my foundation, my nonprofit, my, you know, what I do, how I distribute pyramids. That's, you know, how I've set it up. That would work best for me and best for my goal and long-term vision. And so, you know, my foundation is the study of orgone energy. You know, I'm providing the highest quality, you know, engineered pyramids that are only going to get better over time and have a lot of, you know, public proof and social proof to back it, you know. And also on the new site, there's tons of reviews. I've actually saved a lot of the reviews I've had over the years with all of the positive experiences from customers who have bought pyramids from me. And I wish I would have done it like the first 2 years I started selling orgonite, because I literally have so many testimonials that I don't have anymore, unfortunately. They're on an old phone that I lost, or that broke, I mean. And yeah, so I only have like 50 to 100 testimonials now, but I used to have like probably 400 or 500. And all of those are actually on the site for the specific pyramid models that they had a good experience. And you'll be able to see different actual customer feedback from all the years. And so that's live on the site right now. And you know, you guys can go ahead and place an order right now. You know, like we're launching right now. I mean, it's July 8th in just a couple hours, and I just put the site live just now. So we're officially live, and that makes me so happy. That's a dream come true. And the next question is, what is orgonite? So orgonite is basically like a man-made crystal, if you will. It's not quite a crystal, but for lack of better terms, let's just say crystal. a man-made device that protects from EMF, right? And it's basically named after like crystals. Like there's a lot of crystals that end in ite, like ITE at the end, like morganite, like seraphinite. Like there's literally so many I can think of. And so I guess the creator of the word orgonite, Carl Wells, in the 1990s, I believe he was the creator. Some people don't think he was, but I'm not sure fully. But he's the pretty much main person that is, well researched when it comes to the original term and word of orgonite. Most people think that he created that, and I'm pretty sure he did. But yeah, so that's basically, what that is named after. It's basically named after crystals, and because it's using crystals inside of it. And it's a device that can help develop your spirituality, increase your metabolism and metabolic health, help protect from EMFs. I mean, there's so many benefits of orgonite, and orgonite is basically a combination of resin, crystal, and metal in a 1-to-1 ratio, and that's how that works. If you don't follow the right principles of the engineering, it's not going to work. You're not going to get a good result. You have to use the proper pyramid shapes. You have to get the weight distribution on there. You have to really pack all the materials in the right ratios. So it takes some practice if you're getting into building it, or if you're already building orgonite. These are some things that you could integrate into your practice. One thing I really love to do with the pyramids, which is based off of the ancient pyramids, is to align the edges of any style, any shape, or pyramid model. Align the edges to true north. So you can use different websites online to help you find true north. You have to find what's called the declination, and you can just type in your zip code on a lot of these like declination calculators online, and you'll find the degree that you need. So the declination is basically X amount of degrees away from just normal magnetic north on the compass. That's magnetic north. And so you basically find magnetic north on your compass, and then you might go left or right, east or west from there. Might be 10 degrees east, might be 4 degrees west. It really just depends where you live, and that's aligning your pyramid to, with proper declination to true north, and that really, turns on the pyramid, if you will. Like, I've had people even tell me, like, it feels like a key to a door, like, clicking in, when they align the pyramid, like they can feel it, like right when they do it, so if you have like an altar or a nightstand or wherever you have your pyramid, you can use the compass on your, your iPhone or Samsung, whatever you got. Pretty much any phone has that. And find true north and just set it down, and wherever you have your pyramid sitting, just have them aligned to true north, just wherever they are, whatever size pyramid you got. And it really is a great tip to enhance the energy of the pyramid and also keep it as balanced as possible, because sometimes when you get a really huge pyramid, not necessarily any smaller pyramids you have in homes, but I'm talking like big pyramids, like as big as like a person or bigger, and they're not aligned to the right degrees, they can actually emanate radiation, even if they're built right in every other way. So aligning the pyramid once it's finished is crucial, especially when you're building huge pieces. There's not a single pyramid that I've seen, at least, built properly around the world in the ancient world that wasn't aligned in some way. So these are really like advanced like principles, and you can even get astrological with it, with different lunar phases with building pyramids and placing them under different constellations around the world. But that's more of for like larger pyramids, going under constellations and things like that. But the most simple, great benefit you can do with the pyramids in your home is aligning them to true north. And you can also keep them around your water to structure your water. They actually are proven to structure water. Just put it for a few minutes next to a glass of water, next to, or any liquid, could be a glass of like milk or a smoothie, anything, next to the pyramid for a few minutes, and it'll charge it. Or overnight too. A lot of people say their drinks taste better, and I know for a fact it preserves food, because pyramids preserve, a lot of things. It's shown to, greatly preserve food when you use pyramids. I've had a bag of organic tomatoes not go bad for like 5 months in the fridge, like next to a pyramid before. And there's nothing wrong with it. It was all natural. There's nothing wrong with them. It wasn't like fake. It wasn't like GMO or anything like that. It was totally just legit, like real tomatoes. And it's just really cool, the power of what this stuff can do. And if it does that to a tomato, then what does it do to our bodies? So I think that's really cool. So I think that it can help extend life. I think that it can aid in metabolic health and a lot of other things. So those are some of the benefits of orgonite and what it is. And let's get on to the next questions. Ooh, good question here. Somebody said, how long does Orgonite last, and does it ever need to be replaced or cleansed? I would say it will last forever unless the pyramid is destroyed, but even if the pyramid shape is partially destroyed, it's still going to be emanating energy because the resin is still compressing on the materials. It just isn't going to work as efficiently. Same with like the ancient pyramid of Giza, the Egyptian pyramid, it's obviously been destroyed, and they've found glass in the dirt and sand surrounding the pyramid because I believe it was destroyed with the directed energy weapon. Hence why or a natural event with similar, solar energy that powerful and that hot that could melt stone and destroy and explode stone and dissolve it. But heat of that proportion towards the pyramid is why it's not smooth on the sides. It was intentionally destroyed, most likely. And that is still something that I'm studying that, I don't think anyone knows in the world. I don't know. I don't think anyone else knows either. I think most of our history is a lie, especially when it comes to the ancient world and their capabilities and how recent it was even. I actually believe a lot of the history we're taught is completely fake, and I believe the history that we're taught that is real actually happened a lot more recently. And I believe the Romans, added like 1,000 years to the calendar after about like 1000 AD. So really it's more like 1023 AD, and Christ's time was more like, it wasn't too long ago. And I do believe that was like a real person. I'm gonna do like a whole podcast on that too, but the ancient world of pyramids really is tied into Christ's time, and there is a huge, documentation of the earliest Christians building pyramids, existing in a world like with the Native Americans, at the time where there was thousands of pyramids across the world, huge pyramids, much bigger than, just your simple orgonite in a home. I'm talking like massive pyramids, like thousands of feet high, some of them, most of them way bigger, that aren't around nowadays, or they're covered at least by nature, were way bigger than the pyramids of Giza. So that's just like a tourist attraction, basically. I don't actually even believe that's the original, Egypt. I think that's more of a tourist attraction. But my point with that is that I believe it was destroyed by some sort of like energy weapon, and that's why there's a bunch of glass in the sand around the pyramid, because the massive heat turned that glass into sand, and it covered turned the sand into glass, and it covered the surrounding area, with like stucco, basically with mud, with clay, called the mud flood. That's why everything in Egypt is excavated, and who knows how big the pyramid actually is, because a lot of it's probably covered. They've never excavated around the pyramids, as far as I know. So there's really endless mysteries, and the world's awakening. I think we've all been in amnesia collectively most of our lives, and a lot of people still are. And we're waking up to this dream world of a reality, if you will. Every day in my life at least feels like an absolute dream, like I'm living the movie Inception, and I'm just here in this world to fulfill my purpose. And it's really trippy just existing sometimes, when I get deep into thought, thinking about all of that and the journey here, doing all this and what I'm sharing. And it goes really deep for me, so I'm really blessed and grateful to be here. Can Orgonite protect against 5G? Definitely. I think that it can protect pretty much against any type of radiation, and depending on how much 5G and things you got around you, would, coincide to how much Orgonite you need. And I think it can be effective in any type of EMF. I've sold Orgonite to people who live directly under a tower in an apartment building, and they saw a significant improvement long term from having the pyramids in their home. No more headaches, slept much better. And yeah, so even if you're that close to like a cell tower, it can really help. And if you have the wrong kind of devices though, near something that's that radioactive, that's bad news, because you're going to end up, amplifying all that radiation. So if you're going to use Orgonite or energy devices for EMF protection, I got cut off there. If you're going to use Orgonite for EMF protection, make sure you're getting the real deal. Make sure you're not just getting like a $20 pyramid on Amazon, or like $50 pyramid at like a crystal shop. Like, make sure you're actually like dropping at least a couple $100s on a nice pyramid, because they cost money to make. If you get supposed Orgonite for like $20, $10, $50 even, it's not legit. The materials alone are more than that. So you're not really gonna get anything, by being cheap. I think actually investing in yourself and spending a decent amount of money is a really important thing, and it's actually, at least in my opinion, a really important like trait of self-care. I love having nice things that improve the quality of my life, and I kind of go by the motto, and leaning into this more is like, it doesn't matter the price. If it really helps and it makes a difference, then, so it is. And, I'll get the money to improve my health and life to the next level somehow, some way. My phone did die earlier when I got cut off. For some reason, my recording, mic, maybe it's the mic built into my Mac where I normally do my podcast, isn't working. Like, I have a bunch of different mics, but none of them seem to be working. It's like super quiet whenever I record on my laptop. So I actually have a mic plugged into my phone right now, and my phone had died, and it was pretty hot in the workshop. It's the summer out here in Arizona, and I didn't have the AC on. So I'm outside now, and it's nighttime now, a couple hours later, finishing this podcast up. And you guys can probably hear the crickets and Oak Creek in the background. There's a really beautiful, like, crystal clear creek on the back of the property we're living on right now. And yeah, you guys can probably hear that in the background. And it has me thinking, because I'm like, why has no one done any podcasts like in nature with natural, like, nature sounds? I feel like that would be so satisfying to listen to. Somebody said, how do I use Orgonomy in my home or office? So I think they're just asking how to use it. I would essentially, put the pyramid wherever you are the most. So if you work at home and you're in the living room the most, keep it like in the living room or towards your bedroom, because you spend a third of the day there. We sleep a third of our lives, which is really trippy to think about. But, it's like the movie Inception, Sometimes you really don't know which one is the dream. If you're really deep into like this spiritual journey, it can get dark even sometimes, not knowing what's real. I think a lot of people have experienced that, and it can get pretty scary. But I think it's also a really valid point and part of, your spiritual journey, integrating like all your fears and things like that. I think that's really important. But I would just put the pyramid where you are most, or put it in your bedroom. Or you can put it as like a centerpiece on your altar if you have some sort of like crystal altar or anything like that, of that sort in your home. That's a great place to put a pyramid as well. How do I know if my Orgonomy is genuine and effective? That's a really good question, because I think it's important to have this cleared up for anyone listening, or anyone in general who's interested in Orgonomy. So what to look out for is, the engineering that goes into it. If you're seeing a pyramid, claimed to be Orgonomy, but it's full of clear resin and you can see through the whole pyramid, it's not Orgonomy. And if it has metal shavings inside with a bunch of clear resin, it's definitely not Orgonomy. What you want to look for is basically a fully dense pyramid, and if there's clear resin, the top part, like the very tip, should be the clear part, and everything else should be filled in, which are basically like the concepts that I follow and my students that I teach follow who are building pyramids. And you want the pyramid to be fully dense in materials. The problem with metal shavings, and you see a lot of, fake Orgonomy from India, China, and the crystal shops on Amazon, with the metal shavings and the polished crystals. And, polished crystals have mineral oil on them, so you're going to lose some of the conductivity, even though you're still going to, you can still use them, and it's going to produce a charge because you're putting pressure on the crystal. It's always best just having the natural rough, like, crystal pulverized into a sand, and then you mix that with the metal sands together. And the problem with the metal shavings, again, is that it doesn't fill the full surface area of the pyramid. It leaves a bunch of clear resin, whereas if you're using powdered materials, even the same types of metals, ideally you always want to use iron and quartz, but you can also use other ones. Iron and quartz always being the best, of course, but you can always experiment. And the problem with the metal shavings is that they don't fill the full surface area. When you use the powdered materials, you're actually filling the full surface area of the pyramid itself, and what's happening is you're basically making the pyramid fully dense. And if you look at all of the ancient pyramids, they're all fully dense. So the main thing to look out for is it's fully dense with the right materials, and those materials are built with the right ratios. If the person doesn't know the right ratios, then I probably wouldn't buy from them. And another thing is 8 sides. A lot of people think it's BS, but every ancient pyramid had 8 sides or more, because you can't build a geometric shape below 8 sides and have it filter energy. You just can't. It's not how it works, This is like the science of biogeometry. every shape has energy to it and has different functions. It's really interesting. And you can look into Dr. Ibrahim Karim in Egypt, who studied this pretty extensively. He has some amazing work showing, different shapes and patterns, like even affecting like the cellular level of different diseases. So I thought that was really cool. And so I actually based my work off of that. And it also explains in biogeometry how and I've talked about this before on a previous podcast, is how all shapes are either harmonious or disharmonious, right? And you basically want to surround yourself in your life with harmonious like shapes and architecture and energy, right? And even the shapes of things, it's really interesting, like, for example, 4-sided rooms hold energy, right? They keep it stagnant, just like a 4-sided pyramid, which is basically like a rectangular shape, right? And if you look at all these old buildings from the ancient world that understood biogeometry, you'll never see these 4-corner style buildings anywhere. They have these beautiful geometric like pattern designs in all of these old buildings and cathedrals and pyramids, and it's really cool. It's nothing like today, and I really do believe that the architecture of those buildings like extended lifespan of the past human civilization, and they were very, very, very advanced, so far beyond what we know. I think we're so honed in on all of what I'm talking about, but on some whole nother level. And so that's a beautiful thing, because I get to study that, and I get to dive so deep in alternative history to help figure out what really went down, and how they did certain things, and why, and what they knew. So I've learned a lot, studying the old world through research like Tartaria and things like that. That's just like the tip of the iceberg. It's really interesting stuff. There's a lot of really interesting info out there. I really love this one YouTube channel called Mind Unveiled. They have a lot of great videos, some on pyramids too. But yeah, let's get to the rest of the questions, and then we'll finish up here. And yeah, I'm super excited. Are there any side effects of Orgonite? I would say no, but if you're really sensitive to energy and you live in a really high EMF environment, you might feel a little difference. You might feel like a very slight headache. Some people's like kidneys flush and they like pee a lot for like a day or two, which is normal when you are around some form of like legitimate energy device. Your nervous system essentially has to like attune to it, because it really does change like the local energy where your nervous system is attuned to in your home, like on a subconscious level. Like your nervous system is very aware of its surroundings and things that you cannot see or perceive. So there's no side effects, but you might have a slight adjustment. So the only effect would be a slight adjustment. The next question is, can I make my own Orgonite? If so, how can I do that? I would recommend Orgon Academy. That's actually my Orgonite building school. I haven't mentioned that much in this podcast. I'm going to make a whole episode dedicated to it. And also, Orgon Academy, it's normally $9.97 for enrollment. It's like $1,000. It teaches you, like, you get lifetime access to a really great course, and have a new version of it coming out too, which is going to be even better, that you'll also have access to if anybody joins now. But for the first 30 days of the new Orgonomy website launch, I'm also going to have Orgon Academy on sale. So we're going to do 20% off site-wide for all the pyramids. And then on the other website, Orgon Academy, which is my Orgonite building school, we're going to do 50% off for the whole first month. So until August 8th, everything's going to be 50% off for the course, and then 20% off site-wide for the pyramids. And yeah, I really want to, just get as much stuff out there I can in the first month, just really dive in and get my feet wet with the new, with this new business model, with this essentially a new business, because I've ran my business as a personal brand for the past 6 years, and I've never made an actual company until now. So here this is, and, I'm diving into a whole new world, and of course I have my own, like, nervousness coming up. It's just human when you have new things, especially, like, challenging things that make you grow, like being an entrepreneur. I think that's been such a huge part of my journey in life and growing, and it's helped me become who I am. If you're into building Orgonite and you want to get started with that, I really wouldn't waste your time anywhere else. You're just going to find conflicting information. If you look up how to build Orgonite and you read 20 articles, 10 of those articles will have conflicting information towards the other 10. or if you look it up on YouTube, you're not going to get a clear answer. And a lot of the information about orgonite out there is true. Like if you look up orgonite benefits, all that information is true, but then you'll be sold fake orgonite and they'll reference fake orgonite as if it can do the things that it's talking about, which it can't. So it's really important to always make sure you're getting the real thing and just be willing to invest in yourself. I think that people who invest in themselves just go way farther in life because you're adding energy to your life that propels you forward. And if you don't invest in yourself, you're just going to stay where you are. So I think that's really important. So yeah, I would definitely just go to Oregon Academy. I think that would be a great investment. Take advantage of the 50% off for the next month. And yeah, I wouldn't really waste your time building orgonite anywhere else. It's about a 35 module course. It's like 15 hours. The new version is going to be about triple that size of Oregon Academy. The second version that's going to come out. And of course, you'll get access to that. So when you join, you get lifetime access. So anybody who joins the current version is going to get lifetime access to that one and the new one that comes out, just to clear that up. But yeah, I would definitely consider Oregon Academy. Just go to orgonacademy.com. Check it out. I got tons of testimonials, like lots of testimonials. And if you want to start your own like orgonite side hustle business, really as far as you want to take that, I also go over that in the course. There's a whole section on, selling your orgonite if that's what you want to do. Some people just want to build orgonite for themselves in their home and their family. Other people want to take it a little further and have some side income. About 25 students, actually I think a little more by now. I gotta do an update to find out. About 20 something students are working full time, building pyramids, and I can't be the only one, working full time doing the pyramid thing. When I scale Orgonomy and I have a full team, of course, but having students where I can teach and help other people help themselves, financially and in other ways. I think that's really valuable. So, that's there if you want to, make a side hustle out of it as well. Somebody said, what is the difference between various types of pyramid models, such as the red sun and black sun pyramids? So I did mention this a little bit earlier in the podcast. So the black sun and the red sun, really the main difference is the type of iron. So the red sun is using red iron oxide, and the black sun pyramid line is using black iron oxide. So black iron oxide is known as magnetite. It's a crystal. You can look up the healing properties of magnetite and read all about it. And then the red sun is red iron oxide. So I live in Sedona. The red rocks are actually all red iron oxide. So, it's really cool to, just see that in nature happening. So red iron oxide is known as hematite. So hematite has different blood balancing qualities. It's great for your emotional health. It's great for the nerves in your brain. There really is something to crystals. I think that they're very understudied, but in the future we're going to see a lot of real, legit studies come out on all this alternative stuff that's been woo-woo for so long, but it's actually not woo-woo, and there's something really to it. For example, quartz. Quartz has so many properties. The first ever radio was called a quartz radio. It used literally like a quartz crystal with an antenna. And even the phone, my iPhone, is a liquid crystal display. I wouldn't even be able to see a screen or have a screen if it wasn't for the liquid crystal display, the LCD. That's what that's called. And it's basically melted quartz. I believe it's like lab-made quartz, but it's still quartz. And you wouldn't have any technology anywhere, even a TV, without that LCD. So I think that's really cool. Crystals are so, they're like the underdog, they're so, what's the word I'm looking for here? They're so underrated, using crystal technologies and things like that, and the world has not caught up. I think that the ancient world literally had buildings and temples made of pure crystal, and, there's the tale of the 4 cities of gold around the world as well, which I really believe existed, and I really do think they still exist, and, they haven't found, historians or just general people haven't found the majority of the gold and all of the artifacts from the old world, so there's still so much infinite stuff, undiscovered that might not ever be discovered. We really live in a magical mystery of a world, and I don't think it's ever been this much of a magical mystery of a world to live in, in human history. And so magnetite and hematite have different healing properties. So figure out which one you might resonate with more, or if you just like the black color better, really whatever resonates with you. It could be the black versus the, more brownish red color that you like better. Could be the hematite and the red sun model that you like better. You might resonate with the crystal hematite more than magnetite. So see which resonates with you, magnetite or hematite. Or if you want to get both, that works too. They work great together. I do believe and have studied, the relationship pyramids form with one another if they're near each other. I think that's why there's multiple pyramids, built in a grid fashion around the world, because they do communicate with one another. They are mediums of, communication for energy itself. Can orgonomy pyramids be used in combination with other EMF protection devices? Yes, and I think it will only enhance them. And if you have a bunk EMF device that doesn't work, it'll protect you from it. So I think that you really can't go wrong with adding it to your already existing, if you have one, EMF protection regimen and strategy. I think that it's a great addition to literally anybody's life, even if you don't believe in anything spiritual or any of the stuff I talk about or that I'm big on. I really just think it can help the everyday person. So that's kind of another goal and intention that I have, is to really put this information into people's hands and hearts and minds that really aren't into this stuff yet, to really plant that seed. Because I've been doing this for the past 6 years, and I've really seen so many people just exponentially grow and take off in their life when years, within years of having a pyramid. And there's really something to it. I really do believe that it affects biological life. It affects the subconscious so much, so deeply, more powerfully than most things I've ever tried. I think affirmations and hypnotherapy are really great too. And obviously you want to combine all these things. You don't want to just choose one or the other. You want to do them all. At least that's my perspective. How do I clean or charge my pyramid? So this is a common misconception. You don't have to recharge orgonite. It's not really something that's needed. If you have the proper engineering, you have the 8 sides, you have all the right angles of the pyramid, you do everything right, I really don't think you ever need to recharge it or anything like that. But I do like to do what I like to call enhancing the pyramid. I love to, smudge it. I smudge my crystals every now and then, and sage the house kind of thing. Not only my crystals, but just my house, just to refresh the energy. And it's good for the air, it gets rid of bacteria. I also have air filters in my house, but it just kind of stacks it on with the air filters, makes the house even nicer. And then on top of the air filters, then you have your EMF filters, and I'm going to do a whole episode on how to biohack your whole home, and I'm probably going to have a lot of episodes on it just because there's so much to go over, and it's almost ongoing because I'm always updating and improving things. And I'm also going to be offering private consulting and feng shui services on my personal brand site in the near future. Probably within the next month or so, I'm going to start doing that because, high level consulting is something that I'm really good at, and it's a strength that I shine in. I've helped coach different professional athletes and different people in different industries at high levels before. Just more of a spiritual coaching, if you will. And I think that's a really valuable thing that I want to bring back. So ultimately, my favorite way to quote unquote charge orgonite would, first off, understand that you don't need to charge it, but I would recommend, running water on it every now and then. That just amplifies all of its effects. Water and pyramids go hand in hand. A lot of the ancient pyramids have water reservoirs or had water running through them. And, when you have that active current of water, it goes hand in hand with the current of the orgone. So they go really well together. And I think that just washing it off every now and then really makes a cool difference. Also, if you ever have a fountain or a backyard fountain, even putting it on the fountain where it runs on the pyramid is pretty cool. I've done that before. I actually am considering making a one-of-one really large pyramid fountain, which would be pretty cool. There's really just endless creative ideas that you can do. And although that's great, I've really narrowed it down to making specific intentional pyramid models, because I think that's the most grounded, practical approach and digestible, to where I'm not getting overwhelmed by just infinite creativity, running a business is running a business. And I think that if you really want to build something in this world, you have to be organized and efficient. You have to have your shit together. I really just believe that. the foolish builder leaves out the cornerstone. Like, you have to really put in the proper work and the proper foundation of whatever dream you have. So yeah, I'm going to have consulting and things available. And with the pyramid, just definitely wash it off every now and then, smudge it every now and then, but it doesn't really need a recharge. That's just going to more refresh it. Kind of like you're just washing like a dish or something like that. Last couple of questions. Does Orgonite help animals? Yes, it does. So Orgonite actually attracts pollinators. So if you put a bunch of Orgonite outside, you will notice more bees and butterflies and things like that come to you. And if you plant like native plants, of course, you'll get even more. So it's a great like local environment restoration strategy is, native plants plus Orgonite, whether it's a pyramid or not, putting it out in nature, as long as it's like the proper, geometry and it's engineered properly. Obviously, pyramids are the most efficient, but when we're gifting Orgonite, sometimes a smaller piece, like what's called a tower buster, is like a puck-shaped Orgonite, might be more efficient than burying a more expensive piece of Orgonite. So when you do that, it can actually help wildlife and help the local environment, restore itself. But also, if you have pets, which is a more practical use, you'll definitely help your pets. The nervous system of animals is soothed and calmed very much by Orgonite pyramids. I've had a lot of customers actually send me over the years like pictures of their animals like laying next to it. They just feel really called to it. Their cat or dog always lays next to it. And I think animals are more sensitive than humans to energy, and so I think that's a really interesting thing to notice. I also noticed that there's always a lot of bees around the pyramids I have outside. I've never got stung or anything, but it just brings more pollinators. It brings more life around it. It will attract like life, and that's essentially the whole purpose of it. It's emanating life force energy, therefore it's attracting like life, and pyramids work with consciousness and intention. So if you combine that with your conscious intentions for your life, you can actually have a great, assistance and sidekick, if you will, to help you on your life's journey, manifesting what you want and manifesting your desires. Last question is, does Orgonite help with chronic illness and cancer? Although I'm not a medical professional, quote unquote, I can't offer health advice I have to say that just for legal reasons so I never get sued. But yeah, so it's just my opinion. But I'll tell you what I've seen. So I do believe it can absolutely help chronic illness and cancer. I've had certain chronic illness, like even chronic stress is chronic illness, and it definitely helps. It definitely gives me just an energetic support, like an anchor. That's the best word I could give, is an anchor. And I have sold pyramids to people with cancer before, and actually recently I got a text from someone a while ago. I had sold a pyramid to someone and their dad had cancer. They gave the pyramid to their dad, and since then the dad's cancer has stopped spreading and hasn't gotten any worse. And I do think that has to do with the pyramid. Obviously that's one aspect of it. Obviously I wouldn't rely on just a pyramid if I had XYZ disease. I would have a whole approach to it. I would absolutely include the pyramids because any kind of chronic illness is exacerbated by EMFs, so is cancer. And EMFs are essentially feeding all diseases. So, take away the EMFs, you take away the food for the disease, and you can begin to heal. I think that healing is much deeper than just these things too. I think that in certain cases, you can be doing all of the health things and everything possible right, but if you don't have the right mindset, you won't heal. So healing really is a mental and emotional thing, but there is external tools that are super important, like EMF protection, the right supplements, and I'll do another podcast on that as well. But I do believe it can help any type of illness. I really do, because negative orgone energy, correlates to many diseases, while positive orgone energy correlates to the reversal of a lot of those. And the original experimenter, specifically with cancer and other diseases, was Wilhelm Reich, and he cured all of those diseases with orgone energy. So that's a documented thing. So there is something to it. So that's been my experience. I can't offer advice, but I can share my experience and my opinion, and you can decide what you will from there. The last thing I want to do is read some reviews off of the new website that's going to be launching, or that is launched now, that is live, and also go over some of these pyramid models. So basically, this site is a big site. There is a lot of different features on it, and it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of great info. And so with the pyramid models, the entry model that I would recommend anyone who's just getting started would be a small or medium-sized model. So like I said, all the pyramids are divided into two types. They're either the red sun or the black sun model, okay? And there's 6 different styles of each one and different sizes as well. So you can kind of customize it for whatever you need. And there's also a live support chat on the website, and actually get a text on my phone when anybody types in the live support chat. So I will answer right away because I'm usually near my phone. And I'd recommend a small or medium size, the small being $125 to get in, just to get a nice small pyramid to start with. The medium size is $450, and the large size is $1,500. And the extra large size is $8,500, and then the one step up from that is $11,500, just for the really large ones, which are really honestly my favorite pyramids to make. And I really want to focus on selling a lot of the larger pyramids just because they're just so much more fulfilling to create. And also, not that I don't want to build smaller pyramids, I absolutely love that too, but there's just something about the big pyramids. And if you ever get to experience, one of my big pyramids in person, they're really, really, really special. There's literally nothing like it anywhere else in the world. Like, I've never seen anybody do anything like that before. And I often look to see if there's anyone out there. And if there is, I want to collaborate with them. But it's really such a thing that I'm like pioneering, I feel. So I have to stay on the path and stay in, authenticity and keep moving forward. So you can go from, $100 pyramid model all the way up to like 12 grand or more. And then the third part is custom pyramids. So custom pyramids are just one of one pyramids, right? The red sun and the black sun models, those are made to order. They're the exact same every time. But I also can make custom pyramids, which I use the same metal to crystal ratios, whether it be the red iron or the black iron. But these are like custom, so they look different. They're way more colorful often, because people like a lot of colors. And I can just do whatever. So on my website, I have custom order requests where you can request a custom pyramid with your preference of crystals and so on and so forth. And there's like a form you can fill out. And also there's already custom pyramids that are just listed on my website for sale. Nobody ordered them. They're just, my own soul, like, creativity, which are still they have all of the same materials as the black sun or the red sun, but they just have other custom materials on top of that, and they look different. So that's what makes it a custom. So you can either create one through the order form, or you can shop just the custom pyramid part of the shop on the website and just browse all that's available. And again, I have custom pyramids from like $400 all the way to like 10 grand plus. So it really just depends what you're looking for. I really want to distribute the larger ones to like sanctuaries and larger properties and homes, because those are really strong anchors to, grid around the world. Like if you place one of these big pyramids like in a neighborhood, like you'll feel it, like just going into the neighborhood. You don't even have to be near it or in the house. Like it really affects like a very large area pretty significantly. And anywhere I've ever done this and built and put a pyramid like that, because I've built Orgonomy in many different places around the world, the same thing always happens. So it's not, just because of the location. It's definitely just anywhere. The pyramids do significant work on that energetic level. And on top of the custom pyramids and the pyramid models, I'm also going to be having crystals. I don't sell too many crystals. I go to the Tucson Gem Show every year and spend a lot of money there to, stock up on crystals and supplies. And I keep some for my collection. I sell some, and then I use the rest in pyramids. But I do feel called to supply some crystals. So I'm going to be selling really, really, really high quality crystals for amazing deals you won't be able to get anywhere else. Because I know like miners and stuff, I can get like really great quartz, really great, all kind of stuff for like a way less than retail or wholesale deal. So I'll be offering that, and keep in mind, guys, whoever's listening, that the orgonite out there, I see fake orgonite sell for $600-$700, and I know that stuff costs like $15 to make. So there's really competitive pricing on everything that I offer. I have way better deals than any of the BS products out there, and I believe my products are way better. So just take that into consideration if you're wanting to get a pyramid from me, because a lot of people don't have others' best interests in mind. So there'll be the pyramids, the custom pyramids, crystals. I also have, a rife machine that I build that I sell, which I'll be doing another podcast on, called the Sucker Punch. And then I also sell a couple different types of orgonite that are on the website as well. One for the car, and then the Tower Buster pucks that I had mentioned earlier. So that's pretty much all that's on the site, and the rest is just information and educational resources on authentic orgonite, which you won't be able to find anywhere else other than the official Orgonomy website. And that's pretty much it. So I'm so excited to share this. I want to read a couple of reviews before I wrap it up here, and I'm going to be posting this tonight. And then before I head off to bed, I'm actually outside, like I mentioned, under the stars right now, and where I live is fully dark, and there's so many stars above me. I'm looking at the Milky Way as I record this, which is so awesome. So one of my favorite reviews was from actually a Instagram follower I met in Kauai when I was living in Kauai, and it's cool how they just lived on the island and were just hip to a lot of the things that I would post and all that. And oh wow, I think my neighbor's dog was just chasing a bobcat. I just saw something run in the dark. I live in super rural nature, so there's mountain lions, jaguars, coyotes, cryptid, there's all kind of stuff out here. So I never know what I might hear out here or witness. I'm glad there's dogs though, because we got some big dogs on the property in the area that really help just hold the place down, if you will. It's good having dogs. But anyways, back to this review. So this was somebody I met in Kauai, and their name's Sheena, and she says, this is after I sold her a few pyramids. It's her first time ever using orgonite. She never had anything like it. She has a bunch of kids and just really saw a huge difference. And she said, hey Sher, I really wanted to let you know these pyramids are so freaking amazing. Seriously, I did not know what to expect when I was getting them and when I bought them. I honestly really didn't expect to see any noticeable difference, but in only 2 days, I am mind blown. I don't even know the last time I've gotten this good of sleep and actually woken up feeling rested. It's been years, and my kids too. My 2-year-old has never slept well. She's tossed and turned and cried all night since the day she was born, and I've tried so many things to help her, chiropractor, herbs, etc. Nothing compares to these pyramids. I've noticed such a huge shift in her sleep already, and energy levels are so much better, and my brain feels like it can function. Usually it feels like just a boggled mess, and I can't focus or get anything done, but my house is clean for the first time in a really long time, and I honestly feel like a new person, and I'm so stoked. I'm so grateful I scooped them up from you and enjoyed talking to you. How about that one, right? That's a really, really special one, so her kid was able to sleep well. A lot of people really struggle with sleep, and myself included sometimes, and I really do think that pyramids can improve your circadian rhythm, and that improves your sleep. Another cool testimonial was from someone I sold who has a garden, and they grow plants, they grow food, cannabis, different herbs and things like that. And they said, after I got my first pyramid from you in 2019, we witnessed cannabis plants that we had planted next to a plot of diseased cannabis from the same genetics on purpose. Basically, they're doing a controlled experiment where they have 2 groups. Grow 6 feet in 6 weeks, and we're 100% mold, virus, and disease free, and we didn't even water them, growing them at 9,000 feet elevation in sunny, hot Colorado. So I think that's pretty awesome. I think that pyramids can help prevent drought. Basically, why these cannabis plants were able to grow so large and strong and healthy with no disease at a high elevation, in the heat, that's pretty impressive. And I think that they're being fed food energetically, from the orgone. Nature produces orgone energy, and if it doesn't have enough orgone energy, nature actually can't produce its cycles, right? And so for example, super developed areas, right, their weather patterns that are natural to that environment actually weaken, and then the local native orgone energy, the local native EMF actually weakens, and then non-native radiation increases, if that makes sense. And when you go, out of the places that are super developed, the radiation goes down, the bad radiation, and the good radiation goes up. So it's really just a balance. Another cool review was from this guy named Julian, and I had sold him a pyramid on my Orgonomy account, and he had just gotten back from visiting the pyramids in Bosnia, and this is what he said. He said, "When I put my hands over the pyramid for a while, I feel some type of energy from it. I was in the pyramid in Bosnia recently, and I felt the same thing I feel when around this pyramid." So what he's saying is that the ancient pyramids feel the same as my pyramids and what we're doing at Orgonomy. And I think that's really cool, because that is basically our goal realized, because we want to essentially reproduce the benefits of the ancient pyramids in a way that you can have it in your own home comfortably with no side effects. So that's essentially what we're doing. So it's great to hear that feedback. And I'm not going to go through all these reviews. There's a lot of reviews I put on the site. It took me forever to put all these up manually. But yeah, you guys can go to orgonomy.us, check out the site, go to orgonacademy.com. I got 20% off site-wide on orgonomy.us, www.orgonomy.us. The discount is applied at checkout, so there's no code or anything you have to enter to get the 20% off. Just add it to your cart and it'll automatically take the 20% off and go from there. And then there's free shipping over $250 orders. So pretty much every order is free shipping. I don't really care to charge shipping. I have great shipping software where I don't have to pay hardly anything to ship pretty much any package. So I pretty much have free shipping on everything you order. I just think that's important to have an extra value like that. But yeah, check out the reviews on the site. If you scroll down on the homepage, there's a ton of reviews. There's a bunch of great blogs that I've taken my time to write the past couple months that are uploaded on there as well. And then there's the pyramid gallery, of course. And yeah, so go ahead and check the site out, guys. That's pretty much it. I only have to say today, we went over my ideal setup for protecting from EMFs in the home, different types of EMFs, why you would want protection, what's the most efficient and why. We covered fake versus real orgonite and how to spot the real stuff, and just my goals and my intentions and where I'm going to be taking this to the next level. So if you guys want to learn how to build orgonite, go to orgonacademy.com. I got it 50% off until August 8th. Go ahead and enroll, and I'll see you on the other side. And then 20% off site-wide pyramids. And thank you guys so much for the support. This has been such a long time coming, and a lot of beautiful things are in the works, and this has been in the works for so long. So I'm going to pause here and smell the roses, because I've worked really hard to get here, and obviously I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to take a little breather and really appreciate, how far that I've come, because, we're pushing 20,000 plus pyramids being distributed, 250 or so students in Orgone Academy. There's a lot, happening, and I'm really grateful to be here, and I intend for it to grow as much as possible and to align to the right people to help me grow Orgonomy and really help bring the ancient world, back. And not necessarily the ancient world back, but a newer integrated world that resembles the benefits and higher consciousness of the ancient world. So that's essentially like the New Earth, if you've heard of that. If you don't know what that is, I'd definitely recommend looking up the New Earth and the concept of that. I think that the world is transitioning into that. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. So excited to, be sharing all of this. Definitely go check it out. Even if you might not be interested in buying anything, just go check it out, see if you can learn something. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.